In this video we're going to take a look at 3 times where greater teamwork on defense could have created problems for the offense in the US 2019 national final between Chicago and Seattle.
And a mismatch switch again.
Friedman cuts under, getting some separation from Evangel Idasiak. Gibson sees this cut and has a little look for a poach. As he takes a step in, Kwon reacts perfectly to the poach by moving away from the poaching defender. Gibson turns around to check the situation, and Evangel Idasiak has realised that he's in a better position to mark Kwon, so he switches. As Friedman looks at the option of throwing to Kwon on the front corner, the Chicago defender at the back of the stack shows that he's ready for that option. Kwon maintains his separation by keeping his speed up, running across the front of the end zone. Evangel Idasiak is unable to catch up, and the other Chicago defenders don't see it till too late.
And a mismatch switch again.
Now what could Chicago have done differently here?
Reset for Dylan.
When Gibson sees Friedman's cut developing, he could commit to this poach earlier, possibly preventing the throw entirely. The earlier he commits, the earlier that Evangel Idasiak would be able to switch and take Kwon, which would mean Kwon would have less separation from the start, and if Kurt had switched really early and managed to prevent the throw, then it would still be with Trent Dillon and a rising stall count. The moment that Kwon changes direction, there are 2 Chicago defenders that could have easily covered his cut to the front corner.
And a mismatch.
If they'd done this, then Evangel Idasiak would end up on the open side of the stack in the end zone, effectively meaning that Chicago would have a nice 3-person bracket around the stack. As it was, Rankin was a little bit too focused on his mark, not quite heads up enough to see Kwon's cut early enough, and the result was a relatively easy score for Sockeye. The takeaways from this include switching early if there's an opportunity to switch, as this will make it harder for the offense to punish with separation. Another takeaway is that good teamwork on defense relies on defenders being heads up, having half an eye on the rest of the field, and also communicating early if they want to work together.
And a mismatch switch again. Nathan Kwon, no call. He's got the Sockeye goal.
In this next clip, Sockeye are moving the disc outside the Chicago red zone. Murray breaks the force to Raider, who then throws the continuation on the break side to Freechild. It's a textbook offense breakside flow score. At this moment, 4 Sockeye players are in very close proximity to each other, and each of the Chicago defenders are trying to mark them all 1-to-1. One of the main benefits of having such a tight stack is that it opens up a lot of space on the open side and the break side, meaning that a well-timed move when the thrower is able to get the disc out onto the break side accurately can result in a score very quickly. This break from Murray is not an unlikely throw. This is exactly the kind of break that every Ultimate player practices at trainings and break force drills, completing them time and time again. So what could Chicago have done different? At this moment where the stack is really tight and there's loads of space around them on the field, Chicago could set up a defensive bracket or a sandwich. This would involve positioning the 4 defenders so they surround the tight stack, meaning any direction that a Sockeye player moves in will be towards a defender. This makes offense more complicated, as instead of just timing the move onto the break side where they already have a step of separation, they need to beat the defenders. When the offense start cutting, it can get more complicated for the defenders, who have to adjust and reposition in order to make sure all the offense stay covered. From the initial situation, surrounding the tight stack would give Chicago the positional advantage, and reduce how damaging a break, throw and continuation can be. Defense spreading out into the space is a natural counter to the offense tightly bunching, and at the very least it would force Sockeye out of their comfort zone, meaning they have to use their brains a little bit more and do something different to score.
Matt Raider picks up another assist. This time it's Dylan Freechild for the Seattle score.
Regard for his opponent's safety at times. I think he did the best he could in that instance in trying to hold up.
In this clip, Gibson throws up the line to Evangel Idasiak, who appears to be unmarked. Weirdly, he jumps out of the field because the front cone has been moved to the side. But for all intents and purposes, this should have been a score, so let's take a look back at it in that context. When the disc gets dumped backwards to Gibson, Friedman, number 7, moves to stop the continuation swing. This is quite a good move to put pressure on the area that the offense are looking to move the disc to. However, it means his mark can run free to the open side corner. So what could Sockeye have done differently? Friedman could have stayed marking 1-to-1 guarding the open side, but there's no doubt that Chicago would take the swing, move the disc over to the break side, and look to score in that corner. It would be very familiar offensive moves and flow which they've been doing for their entire careers. So when Friedman repositions here, he is actually doing something positive for the team, but he needs backup from his teammates. Kolzak is in an awkward position here guarding Joe White at the front of the end zone. You don't really want to leave him free in this position. However, if he had taken a step back to show that he was now marking Evangel Idasiak and White, then Friedman would have closed up the gap instead of looking for the poach onto the dump. Alternatively, and kind of similar to the Gibson switch earlier, if Friedman commits to marking this dump cut out early, then he can actually switch with his teammate. This teammate can then help out on the front corner of the end zone, whether it's marking Evangel Idasiak or switching onto Joe White. Despite these missed opportunities, there are still 2 defenders that Evangel Idasiak runs past to score. So what you should take away from this is that Friedman's move, although it's good in the context of full team defense, without help from his teammates can lead to an easy score. Fundamentally, the problem here is that the Sockeye defenders aren't on the same page as each other. And what can be better in these clips is the defenders' awareness of the field beyond just the person that they're marking, and their ability to adapt and work as a team to shut off as many options as possible. And on offense, it's wise to get your back foot down and as far back as possible when you're not sure where the line is.
Evangelides far too casual on that sideline.
Poaching, switching, and sandwiching or bracketing is getting more and more common in high-level games. For example, here where Seattle set up a tight stack on the far side, and Goff poaches off to cause problems for the isolated player.
Jacob Janin unable to haul in.
Even in this clip, there could be greater coordination from Chicago to surround the inactive Sockeye players. However, this deep poach is something we're seeing more and more as a counter to the side stack, which is quite an extreme isolation offense. The offense tries to create a huge space on the field, and the defenders are starting to use teamwork to reduce that space. We're entering a very interesting period in development of strategy in the game, where we're going to see a lot more dynamic teamwork on defense to counter predictable or isolation-based offenses. But because this strategic adjustment on defense is new, there are quite a lot of errors creeping in, and teams are going to be working out how to train to eliminate these errors. If you want to improve your team defense, then share this video with your teammates and chat about it so you get on the same page. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been pretty heavy on the strategy side of things. Give it a like or a share, and I'll see you again soon.